Hi there and welcome back to one of the last clips in a series of videos that tries to explain the Three Waters reforms process. I hope you found it helpful. This time we're going to be looking at the incentive payment from the government to councils who opt in to the reforms. A lot of people think that the incentive money is actually payment for the assets that we will no longer have control over and indeed won't own directly. You may recall that I said how the entity will own the assets, but the councils will own the entity. So what is the incentive payment then? In July this year, LGNZ, which is the overall body for the councils in New Zealand, and the government announced a $2.5 billion package to guide councils through the reform process. Out of that money, Central Otago District Council has been allocated $12.8 million. That allocation has been based on a formula that includes population size, overall deprivation in the area, and a little bit of the land size as well. This funding can be used to support the delivery of local wellbeing outcomes associated with climate change and resilience, housing and local placemaking, and there is an expectation that council will have discussions with iwi Māori on how the money is spent. A quarter of it will be available from the 1st of July next year to those councils that opt in. A smaller sum, called the No Council Worse Off component, will be available from the 1st of July 2024 and will be provided by the Water Services entity to those councils that opt in. It's really designed to come in two parts. Firstly is the transition component, which is designed to assist councils who opt into the reforms to be able to pay the costs of transiting into those reforms. The second part involves things such as stranded overheads. So what are stranded overheads? Well, if you consider that if the council does lose 30% of its balance sheet, which is what the water services currently comprise, your rates would go down by 30%. That seems logical, but it doesn't actually work that way due to stranded overheads. And an example of that is, even though we don't have the water services into the future, if that is the case, we'll still have those wonderful people on the front desks of our service centres for the same amount of time without income that's generated through the water services to help pay for that. This part of the support package is designed to alleviate that cost to councils who opt in for 2 years after opting in. One thing that isn't clear from the reform discussions, however, is whether councils that don't opt in will still get the incentive payment if they are forced in later on. So that's it, the incentive payment for the councils who choose to opt into the reforms. We're almost at the end of our journey with these video clips. Thanks for sticking with it. Up next, we're going to have a look at where do we go from here. Ngā mihi.